You paid 40, 50, sometimes $80,000 for your truck. Your name is on the title. It sits in your driveway. You make the payments. You buy the insurance. And if the wrong warning light comes on, you may not legally be allowed to fix it yourself. Not because you lack the skills. Not because the part isn't available. Because a manufacturer decided you don't have permission to access your own vehicle's software. That's not a hypothetical future problem. That's happening right now to real truck owners at real shops all across the country. And the system that made it possible has been quietly building for over 20 years. Here's how they pulled it off. A truck used to be a mechanical problem. Bad fuel injector, you replace the fuel injector. Worn brake pads, you swap the brake pads. Blown head gasket, you pull the heads. Hard, sure. Expensive in time, maybe. But solvable. A competent mechanic, or honestly just a stubborn person with a factory service manual and a weekend, could work through almost anything. That world still exists in people's heads. It does not exist anymore under the hood. Your modern Ram 1500 runs dozens of electronic control units simultaneously. Your F-150 has 150 million lines of code, coordinating everything from throttle response to the adaptive cruise to the tailgate release. For context, the entire Apollo guidance computer that landed men on the moon ran approximately 145,000 lines of code. A pickup truck you can buy at any dealership today runs 1,000 times more software than that. These are computers that happen to have wheels, and the software running all of it, the software your truck cannot function without, is, according to the license agreement, buried in your purchase paperwork, not yours. You bought the steel and the aluminum and the leather. You license the code. And that single legal distinction is the foundation everything else is built on. So what does that actually mean the day something goes wrong? Ram and Dodge answered that question in 2018 when they introduced something called the Secure Vehicle Gateway. It's a hardware module sitting between your OBD2 diagnostic port and the rest of the truck systems. When your mechanic, the one you've trusted for 15 years, the one who knows your family's vehicles by memory, plugs in his scanner, he hits a wall. The tool that has communicated with every vehicle he's ever worked on suddenly gets nothing back, or it gets a message telling him to refer you to an authorized dealer. The gateway will only talk to diagnostic equipment that has been registered and approved by the manufacturer. Your guy is locked out, not because he's unqualified, not because he lacks the right tool, because he hasn't paid for manufacturer access and agreed to their terms. Independent shops can pay a $50 annual subscription fee to a third-party authentication service just to unlock the ability to clear codes and run basic tests on your truck. And even in those cases, the access is controlled, monitored, and can be revoked. The lock isn't just technical, it's contractual, and diagnostics are only the beginning. Even when your shop identifies exactly what's wrong, sources the correct part, and physically installs it, the truck may still refuse to run it. Manufacturers have built what's called parts pairing into their systems. Components are serialized to specific vehicles, and a new part won't be recognized or accepted until a dealer authorizes it through the manufacturer's software. Genuine part, correct application, perfect installation, and it still doesn't work. Not because anything is mechanically wrong, because no one has entered the right code into the right system yet. A sensor you bought, installed in a truck you own, sitting non-functional while you schedule a dealer appointment just to get your own repair completed. That is not a side effect of the technology. That is a deliberate design decision. Now here's the part that makes all of this not just frustrating, but legally bulletproof for the manufacturers. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act was passed in 1998 to protect music, movies, and software from digital piracy. It was a response to Napster and CD ripping and the early internet. Nobody in Congress in 1998 was thinking about pickup trucks, but buried inside the law is a provision, Section 1201, that makes it a federal offense to circumvent any technological protection measure on copyrighted material. Software is copyrighted. The software in your truck is copyrighted. The gateway protecting that software is a technological protection measure, which means bypassing it even to repair your own property, even when the repair itself is completely legal, is a potential federal crime. Manufacturers didn't write this law, but their legal teams figured out it applied, and they have been using it as a shield ever since. You are not just locked out of your truck mechanically, you are locked out legally, and the law, as written, is on their side, which is exactly why the money side of this makes so much sense once you see it. Dealership service departments are among the most profitable divisions in the entire automotive business. We're talking margins that dwarf what manufacturers make, selling the vehicles themselves. For decades, independent shops competed for that work and won a huge share of it, because they were local, faster, cheaper, and often better. Manufacturers watched that happen and had limited options. Then software gave them something the mechanical era never could: a permanent, legally defensible wall between independent shops and the systems those shops need to do their jobs. Lock the diagnostic access, lock the parts authorization, lock the calibration procedures for advanced driver assistance systems, lock the telematics data your truck produces every single mile you drive, and every repair on every vehicle for the entire operational life of that truck gets pushed back through the dealer network. It is not a vehicle sale anymore. It is a revenue stream with 4 wheels. You paid to open the account. They collect every time something breaks. So what is actually being done, and does any of it have teeth? The Repair Act, House Resolution 1566, was introduced in February of 2025 with more than 50 bipartisan co-sponsors. In February of 2026, it cleared a House subcommittee and advanced to the full Energy and Commerce Committee. The bill would require manufacturers to give independent repair shops and vehicle owners access to the same diagnostic tools, repair data, calibration procedures, and software access that authorized dealer networks already receive. More than 83% of Americans support it, according to a July 2025 national poll. 84% of Republicans, 82% of Democrats. This is not a partisan issue. Truck owners are not a partisan demographic. Neither are independent mechanics. Several states, including Oregon, Colorado, and Washington, have already passed enforceable right-to-repair laws. Massachusetts voters approved their own repair law by a 3-to-1 margin back in 2020, fought off a years-long legal challenge from automakers, and won a key federal court ruling in February of 2025, though automakers have since appealed that decision, and the fight continues. Legislative templates being drafted right now for 2026 explicitly prohibit manufacturers from using software locks to control who is allowed to perform repairs on something a consumer legally owns, and require that repair tools function offline, so manufacturers can't block repairs by simply withholding remote authorization. The industry's counterargument is cybersecurity, and it deserves a fair hearing because it's not entirely fabricated. Modern vehicles are genuinely vulnerable to remote attack. Diagnostic access points are real vectors. Theft rings have exploited keyless entry systems. These are legitimate engineering concerns. But watch what happens when you push on the solution. Every cybersecurity concern, without exception, gets resolved the same way. Closed systems, dealer-only access, manufacturer control. If the actual goal were security, the answer would be building secure open protocols, encrypted, credentialed, audited. The way the banking system and the healthcare system and critical infrastructure handle sensitive access every single day. Instead, the solution is always a locked door that only the manufacturer holds the key to. Security is the justification. Control is the outcome. Here's what this actually is at the largest scale. For most of automotive history, manufacturers competed on the product, reliability, performance, capability, price. The vehicle was the value proposition. What's happened over the last decade is a fundamental shift in the business model. The vehicle is now the entry point to an ecosystem. Lock in the repair revenue. Lock in the parts revenue. Lock in the software update revenue. Monetize the data your truck generates, your routes, your driving behavior, your fuel patterns, and sell access to that data to insurers and fleet managers and marketers. The truck is the razor. Everything that comes after is the blade. Every oil change notification, every calibration requirement after a fender bender, every module that needs a dealer handshake to function is a design touchpoint back to their revenue. You are not the customer in this model. You are the subscriber. And unlike an app you can delete, you're making payments on this one for 6 years. You own your truck. Every instinct, every legal tradition, every reasonable interpretation of property rights says that you should be able to repair what you own with the mechanic of your choice, using the parts you select. The fact that a copyright law from 1998 and a hardware module from 2018 can override all of that, entirely within the law as it currently stands, is something every vehicle owner in this country needs to actually understand. Because this is not staying contained to trucks. It is already inside your car, your tractor, your medical equipment, your home appliances, your farm machinery. The pattern is identical across every industry. The manufacturers are not going to reverse this voluntarily. The financial incentive runs entirely the other direction. The only thing that changes it is enough people understanding what's actually happening before the next generation grows up, assuming it was always this way. If this was useful, share it with someone who still changes their own oil and thinks they're fine. They need to hear it. Everything on the Repair Act and how to contact your representative is in the description. It takes about 4 minutes, and it's one of the few issues where your message actually lands.